All right, everybody, here we are. Week 2 of NFL action is upon us, and we are here for another episode of the Muff Punt Podcast. I hope everybody out there had a fantastic week 1. I know it was a wild one, if nothing else, that's for sure. And we're going to go through for us this week, and we're going to see what we have to offer as far as our picks. I heard that we did fairly decently well as far as the picks went. As far as week 1 goes with picks, anyway. We'll have Terry go through that here in just a second. But what's up, Terry? How you doing tonight, bud?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm feeling pretty good after week one, especially as an Eagles fan for sure. It was definitely a pretty good week for games. There were some kind of shocking games out there and some surprises. Um, so yeah, it was a pretty awesome opening week for the most part. Um, Definitely happy the Eagles started off the season with the victory. So
I
it's
think that's a great place for us to pick up the show. I mean, as two Birds fans, Paul's out this week. I hope you feel better soon, bud, and we get you back. But as two Eagles fans, we might as well take advantage of the fact that the Eagles got themselves a big victory this week. And man, I was leading up to the first week, I was still in the back of my mind, like, man, I think the Birds are going to win, but I don't want to get too excited because that loss could happen, and I don't want to come in on a high and then end up really getting in my emotions right in week 1. So it was pretty nice to see. All in all, how did you feel about week 1 with the Birds?
Yeah, I mean, leading up to the game, I felt pretty confident in the Eagles. I felt like they would win the game. I even put a few a few dollars down on them to win on the money line, which ended up working out really well for me. But I was like All I can say is it was to me it was an all around fantastic performance, a great win to open up the season, and I don't think you could ask for much more from the opening of the Nick Sirianni era, and all aspects of the game. I felt like they they showed like they had complete control of the game. Um, Early on, it they were getting kind of gashed in the run game with a lot of those cutback runs from Mike Davis. I feel like they were also running some strange fronts against it. I saw a lot of 3-man fronts. Looked like they were trying to run some of that 3-4 look, which they didn't look like they had the personnel to stop it. Uh, but when it came down to crunch time in the red zone, they locked them down. They held them to 2 field goals. And that's to me is kind of like the turning point in the game. The Falcons were knocking on the door both times. I think both times they were inside the 10-yard line, and they held them to field goals. And then on the offensive side, the Eagles pretty much had a methodical approach. Um, they put together some really nice drives, and I was impressed with Hertz to see what he did. I mean, he was efficient. He was accurate. He was taking what they were going to give him. He was there was some design runs for him, but when he didn't like always take off running right away. He only took it when it was there for him to go, and then he was getting out of bounds or he was sliding and getting down. So really great. Offensive line looked really good.
I think
Um,
efficiency is an awesome word for him, and
yeah,
I agree. Like in the beginning of the game, when I think the first play of the game, they hit a 16-yard pass. Matt Ryan did, and I was like, man, this might be a long day. And it seemed like, unlike maybe the Jim Schwartz era here in Philly, our defense seemed to make some changes pretty quick, and those changes seemed to really help out. Now, as somebody that used to play defense, looking at this, having like the first full game under your belt here as the Eagles and seeing kind of the new stuff here, what did you see that surprised you, and what did you see that you expected? I guess I'll say.
well, the expectation that definitely was apparent in the game is that the Eagles, uh, their pass rush is going to be a problem for a lot of people. You know, I think that the Falcons were definitely overmatched. I think one of their guards was he's clearly not a starting guard, but they were double teaming. They were putting a lot of double teams against Fletcher, so he was kind of had a quiet game. But then you saw Javon Hargrave was just destroying the rest of the whoever it was matched up man on man with him.
He had
Um,
several very eye-popping plays throughout the
yeah,
game, where
I
I was just like,
mean,
wow, he definitely put some energy into that one.
yeah, I mean he's gonna be a huge beneficiary of the because as an offensive game plan against the Eagles, you're gonna say, all right, who are we gonna game plan for on the defense, and Fletcher's probably one of the first guys that you're gonna have to say what are we gonna do about him. So you're gonna have a lot of double team against him all season. So the fact that Javon Hargrave, from the preseason training camp, everybody said how great he's looked. He showed it. He's he's going to be a problem for teams when they have to put him single man on man with their guard or whoever he's matched up against in interior. So I and then they were getting good pressure on Matt Ryan. He was getting the ball out pretty quickly early on, but then when the Eagles started to kind of get in their coverage, they kind of got in a little rhythm toward the end of the later in the game, like late second quarter, and then the second half, it was just you could see that the Falcons were completely overmatched. The surprise, the surprise to me, I guess, was that the well, two things. I guess I was super surprised at how quickly Jonathan Gannon, as a rookie defensive coordinator, made the adjustments and took the run game away from them. I know obviously the Eagles were, I think they were what 15-6 at the half, but the Falcons had like 110 yards rushing in the first half, and they had 14 yards rushing in the second half. So he completely shut them down on in the run game. And then I was pretty surprised with the secondary. I thought they played really well. Early on, you saw Calvin Ridley and Pitts. They were making some plays, and then they both just disappeared. Like I don't like they were putting good coverage on them. It was making it hard to get to them, and it helps that the pass rush was getting there too. Um, but those guys kind of disappeared. So I was surprised because I thought that those two were going to give us a lot of problems. And they both ended up with pretty average stat lines. So yeah, I was pleased. I guess everywhere I was, it was awesome to see. Devonte Smith
Oh,
immediately
dude, that
part of the
touchdown.
offense. The touchdown was such a great touch pass and put it right over his shoulder, and it was a great catch.
Did you as an
So
Eagles
amazing.
fan, I jumped up out of my chair. I was like,
Oh yeah,
"Yes!"
yeah,
Like I don't
dude.
know if you got as excited as I did, but man, when that happened, I just my whole body was just got taken over by excitement. I was so happy. And it was I mean, it wasn't even like it was that flashy, but just to see him get a touchdown in Eagles green just was awesome.
Yeah, first catch of his career is a touchdown. On a great throw, great
And that
catch.
was, if I'm not mistaken, the same end zone he caught the game-winning pass in the national championship game. I could be
Yes.
wrong on that, but I think
Um,
it's the exact same end zone that he caught that ball in.
did they have the Mercedes Dome then, or was it the Georgia Dome? But it's still the same. It's kind of the same place. But
Yeah.
I don't know if that I can't say for sure, but it's still pretty awesome. And he had a great game, and you can see you could see so much with like how advanced he is as a young receiver. He was getting his route running is fantastic. He had that one little kind of like hitch route at the sidelines. He had the toe tap and got out of bounds. He had that one where he found the soft spot in the zone and was wide open, got up the field for a few extra yards. And then there was one play where he ended up getting, like, the defender ended up catching him on the leg and ended up tackling him. But if he gets out of that, he's he's breaking that for probably another 30, 40 yards. So there's a lot to like about him. Obviously he looks the part already. Um, I it's funny, we saw the first three catches of the game were all their passes to the game were all to Quest Watkins on those bubble screens, and he's just like, quick bubble screen for 10, 10, almost 10. He was, and then he kind of disappeared after that.
I
But
was gonna say that was it for him after that.
that was it for him.
I was
But
waiting for him to have a monster day, and then it just kind of it seemed like they switched gears after that. But I'm
yeah,
cool with that. You don't need to show everything on the first game.
yeah, no. And then I thought Rager looked pretty good. He had that nice another one of those little bubble screen type of plays, rocket screen, whatever you want to call it. Um, how about that block by Jordan Malata on that, or he completely like just demolished that safety? Oh my god, it was
Mylotta had
such
an
a great,
amazing block. Kelsey had an amazing block where
yeah,
Kelsey ran down to the second level and leveled a guy.
yeah.
It's
It was,
I'm super happy with the offensive line if they can stay healthy, and for them locking up Mylotta for those couple of years now, but right before the game, super happy about that as well. And you know what? How gratifying was it? And I mean, I don't ever want to see anybody get hurt, so don't take it that way. But when Jason Peters goes down in the Bears game later that night, and then you see Mylotta made it through the whole game just fine, dancing and having a good time. And it's like I'm just happy that era of Jason Peters is over here. I'm very happy for everything he did for the Birds in the long run, but I just felt like in the end he was just like a name getting money off the
oh,
roster, and it's like I'm happy that part is done.
absolutely. All the respect to Jason Peters. He has a Hall of Fame career under his belt. He's clearly not the player he was. I'm surprised he was even playing this year, but he's an all time Eagle left tackle. He's certainly in the conversation of probably one of the best Eagles left tackles of all time. Him and Trey Thomas probably right now are one and one A or one and two, but you could argue that. But yeah, I
It's like
agree.
that.
It was great to see Mulata get out there, and I mean, he was on display all game. It wasn't just that crushing block on that screen. I mean, there was a play. I check out always check out the Baldy Brian Baldinger. He does those Baldy's breakdowns. There was a play on there where he like spotlighted him. It was the on the Gainwell touchdown. Um, what was that, like the third quarter, where it was like wide open. He actually had the defensive end off the ground. Like he literally was lifting the man up his feet off the ground. Like this guy has ridiculous potential, and I think by the end of the year we could be talking about him in the conversation of one of the best left tackles in the game.
Do you ever see his
I
rugby
think it's
clips?
Oh, dude, they're amazing, dude.
That
He's
dude
such
was
a
a beast.
beast. Yeah,
That dude
man.
was a beast. I had a feeling he was going to do well if he could just learn the game fast enough. If he could pick up the game fast enough, his physicality is perfect for football. And
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised, I mean, if he had played the opposite side of the ball to see him do things like you see Vita Vea do with the Bucks and come in and play fullback from time to time because he would ball some dudes over.
Oh, dude, I'm waiting. Like, I feel like that once he's like, it seems like he's there pretty much now, but maybe they're still waiting. But wait till there's like a play where there's a tackle eligible or something, and they get a chance to get him the ball. Dude, that would just make everybody it's an Eagles fan just absolutely go crazy. Like, just get the ball in his hands and let's see if he can like do something with it.
Could you
But
imagine him like
it would be
stiff arm
amazing.
somebody like Derrick Henry? Like, oh
Yeah.
man, the Eagles fans would lose their mind.
Yeah. Oh, it'd be so great, man. But
Yeah, for sure. So
I'm super excited about the Eagles. I really think that they kind of opened a lot of people's eyes. I think they kind of shut a lot of the doubters up. Hurts and a lot of people talking about Sirianni, saying that they don't think he's got it to be a head coach because I mean, let's be honest, that was an awful. His first couple press conferences were just horrible. But that's a young guy that's nervous, that's in a really high profile job, and football wise, they were as prepared as any team on opening day that I've seen in recent years. I mean, they did have some penalties. I would say that's probably more contributable toward the fact that a lot of those guys didn't play hardly at all in preseason. So
mhm.
that kind of stuff's going to be there. But the fact that the execution and the play calling and everything, the adjustments, I'm I'm liking what I see, and I think that I think that they could be pretty good. Um, I know they got a tough schedule coming up, but I think they could surprise some people with what they're gonna end up doing this year.
Well, to kind of wrap up our subject here on the birds, I think it was Jason Kelsey, but I might be wrong, that came out and was talking about the pregame that Sirianni had with them, talking about like his old playing days and some different things. And I guess it really resonated with a lot of the guys in the locker room. And they were saying that was part of the reason why they were so fired up for the game. So it's kind of
Yeah,
cool to see that the first time head coach before the first game, which is a huge game, your first regular season game, was able to find that way to ignite a spark within his team. So I'll be interested to see if that continues because I think a lot of us were just kind of expecting a Howie puppet or, for lack of a better term, a stooge, that was just going to come in here and do whatever that the management wanted him to do. But it seems early he's finding success.
yeah, agreed. And that just my one hope is that uh, Lori and Howie just hands off the guy. Let him be who he is. Let him do his thing. Don't don't be meddling in his business. Just let it be. Because this guy seems super genuine too. Like he seems like he just loves and lives football, and I like that. And he's different than any coach I've ever heard from the the Eagles perspective. He's seems way different. Like he seems more open about when he talks to the media, and just seems really genuine. So don't mess around with this guy. Just
Can I
let him
throw a
go.
comparison at you that people might scoff at?
All right,
Gabe Kepler light.
all
Not as
right,
eccentric, not as Cali, but
all right.
still leans in that semi direction. You know what I'm saying? A little more in the
Yeah,
new school sort of deal.
yeah, a little
Like,
modern. Like he's definitely a player's coach for sure. Maybe not as much of an analytics guy as Kapler is, but yeah, I could see that. I could see that comparison. But let's just hope that let's just hope that Philly fans don't get on this guy when we have a little struggles during the season, which of
well,
course there's going to be, and you don't want to run the guy out of town. When we see what happened with Kapler and we see what he's doing now with the Giants, and they really don't have that great of a roster. I mean,
going to the
it's
playoffs
better
though.
now, but
They
they're
clinched.
one of the best teams in baseball. So yeah,
It's going to be interesting to see what happens there in the postseason for sure. And if it does do well for them, where did that fall apart for the Phils? Because it seems like, man, does every Philly team have an issue with management? That's a different podcast, though. um,
yeah. Well, we could go on for days.
yeah, exactly. So one of the other things that I wanted to go into, because I feel like we would be really not doing our due diligence here, is to mention about the Cowboys game, because man, the Cowboys did not pull it out with the Bucks, but that game was super close the whole way. And I was really surprised. I mean, I know Paul wasn't when I talked to him. That's basically what he was expecting with the game. But I mean, I said last week with the podcast, if Dak is truly healthy, we saw last year all the 400-yard games that he can put up, that offense can put up points. I'm most surprised to see that against the Bucks defense, but I think their
Yes.
secondary just wasn't up to the task early here for the in the season. You'll see them get more chemistry and get healthy as the year goes on, and I think that'll change. But I think I was very pleasantly surprised to see Dak up to the task.
Completely agree. I mean, I coming into the game, I thought that the Bucks were going to run away with this one. Eventually, I thought it would stay close for a little while, but I thought eventually the Bucks defense would adjust and lock down the Cowboys offense, and then on offense, the Bucks would just prove to be too much for the Cowboys defense. And I was surprised on both ends. The Cowboys offense was firing on all cylinders. It seemed like every time they had the ball, they were moving the ball downfield. They were in, drives and hitting big plays. I mean, really the only guy on the Cowboys that kind of, underwhelmed and really didn't perform very well was Zeke. I mean, you could say the Bucks run defense is pretty good, so it could just be that, but he didn't. He was the only guy on the team that really didn't have that great of a game, but Dak looked amazing. I mean, he looked healthy. He was slinging it, and CD Lamb looks like he's going to be a real stud. Um, they got some. I mean, Amari Cooper too. He looked 100% healthy. He was just dusting people out there. So, um, and then their defense surprised me. I'm I'm going to attribute that to maybe a bit of the Dan Quinn influence. That guy, when he's been just a straight defensive coordinator, has put together some great defenses. So his scheme and everything seems like it's definitely going to help them not be like the worst defense in the league again. And unfortunately, Micah Parsons looks like an absolute monster. That guy was all over the field. He was playing really well. Um,
I was so bummed when they got that draft pick because I knew that dude
yeah,
was going to be a beast.
dude, I loved him. Like I was like even thinking like, all right, if he falls to the Eagles, that would be a great pick. We haven't had like a stud linebacker in God, it's probably going back to Trotter, I guess. That's
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean that guy looks legit as hell. I mean who's Jalen Smith and who's Vander Esch? Like that guy just took over. He was all over the field. So The Cowboys look like they're going to be pretty strong team. I was a little surprised. I thought the Buccaneers didn't look, you know, quite as imposing, but it's the first game, and they did hit some big plays. I mean, Antonio Brown looked like he's come to play this year. A couple of snafus with them. Godwin fumbles that ball. Trying to
He had a
fight
lot of
fight for
drops.
the yeah. He did have a couple of big drops too. You know, first game, I don't know, but in the end they pulled it out. It looked like up the Cowboys got it, but there's you know there's Brady come give he's got what like a little under 2 minutes, plenty of time, get him down the field, kick the field goal.
You knew when
This
Brady
guy
had that
just
look
does
on
it.
his face like somebody peed in his Wheaties that he was going to come down that field and he was going to score. He
Yeah,
looked pissed a couple times in that game. I kept waiting for one of those times where he would go and like curse out the offensive line or do something, but he ended up keeping his composure in the first game, and I thought it was funny because after they won, it was like that all that competitiveness was able to be put to bed, and I saw him like dapping up with guys and whatnot. I'll have to say also because so I don't forget, he has that one commercial for crypto something or other that they're doing, and he like they show him calling a guy, and when the guy goes to answer the phone, it has Tom Brady's face on it and it says trader. Like him leaning into the fact that people hate him kind of makes me like him a little bit, and it's just
yeah.
like I want to not like you, but you are doing more things to make me think you're not that terrible of a person.
Yeah, there's like that commercial where it's like a fake like cologne commercial.
Oh, the
And
Subway, the fake
yeah, it's
clone
like
Subway
the
commercial.
Subway, dude. That I was like, what is this? And then I'm like, I mean, you know what? That let's be honest. Nobody really likes this guy, but you gotta respect him. They go, oh, all he does is win ball games. I mean, that's why he's the goat. I mean, when it's the clutch time, that's when he thrives. He might not, might have the biggest arm. He might not. Yeah, he's definitely not. He's not outrunning anybody. But uh, when it comes time, he just gets it done. So you had posted that thing on I think on the Facebook page where it's like when he does that move where he like kind of like sits up and like sits up on like in like that like leaned out position, like sitting up. It's like, all right, watch out, here it comes. He's about to drive down the field and either get a score or put them in position to kick a field goal to win the game. So
I think it's just like when his competitiveness just ends up taking over. And I think a lot of us have that in us, somewhere, especially like those of us who had siblings growing up and you always wanted to have that competitive edge over your sibling.
oh yeah.
So it definitely is something that I feel like for him is a driving force. So it was a great game, man. I thought I was going to end up having the one of those blowout games where wasn't super interesting, but the whole game was rather fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, super entertaining opening game for the season, no doubt. I mean, you were on the edge of your seat the whole game. Like it could have ended up going either way. So it's perfect type of game to open a season. So yeah, you couldn't ask for more on that one. But
I think it would be kind of fun for us to touch on like a couple games that surprised us in week one that were not those two games, obviously. One of the games for me that I got wrong that I thought was super surprising was the Cardinals smoking the Titans. That game to me, Kyler looked fantastic.
yep,
I don't know if they're kind of allowing him to have a larger role in the offense or if maybe him and Cliff are finding a little bit more of a chemistry together, like what it is. But that one that was like basically just it was like he hit a home run and the dude ran out to go catch it. Like it was a beautiful catch and throw.
yeah.
Um, so what did you think about that game? I was just shocked. Derrick Henry had like 9 yards for that game or something crazy. Like I just couldn't believe what like that they were able to stifle them so much on offense.
Yeah, I mean, the I didn't watch the whole game. I just saw the highlights, so I can't really say everything about the whole game. But yeah, I mean, they were letting Kyler just let it fly. Maybe they've opened up a lot more of the offense and letting him kind of just do his thing. But yeah, they look super high powered on offense. And then I don't know if it was, more the Titans didn't have a great game. Clearly they struggled, but I mean that the Cardinals defense was looking pretty solid. I mean, dude, Chandler Jones has 5 sacks
Yeah,
in one
and
game.
JJ was going off too,
Yeah, dude,
to get him tackles, super
their
meaningful
front their
tackles.
front seven their front seven was looking pretty strong. I mean, they've got um they had the linebacker out of Clemson. His name is evading me right now. Isaiah Isaiah
Simmons,
something. It's Isaiah Simmons. And then they just drafted the dude out of Tulane. This
yeah,
year. He looks like a monster. Um, not Tulane, Tulsa. I can't think of his name right now either. But yeah, they've. I was surprised because I thought that the weakness of their team was going to be their um, the secondary, the back end of the defense, but the front seven was so good. That they pretty much shut Derrick Henry down for the most part. Um, when your offense is based around your power back getting big yards and sustaining drives, and that's not happening. You know that's that's what's going to happen to you. You're going to have a crazy score like that. So yeah, that was a bit of a shocker. I thought that was going to be a much closer game. Um, but yeah, I mean, dude, the NFC West is going to be an interesting division for sure.
yeah, absolutely. What was your surprise game for the weekend?
Um, I mean, I'm not going to go into the Saints and Packers game. I think that one was just kind of like, what the heck happened there. But I
I mean,
was,
we can touch on
I
it for
mean, we
just
could
a
talk.
minute.
I mean, that was just an awful performance by the Packers. They just looked all kinds of out of sorts. Rodgers looked terrible. I don't think the Saints are that good either, but I think that it was more the Packers just played awful. Um,
I will say
they,
Jameis had a couple nice deep balls.
oh no, no doubt. He definitely looked pretty good, but I don't know if the Packers are that bad. Um, I just think that's a game that just got out of hand, and you know, the score just kind of went nuts. Um,
I don't
my
think that he's necessarily playing bad on purpose. And I think you
No,
said you felt the same way.
no,
I think he
not at
just
all.
had a bit of a stinker of a game and things got away from him and he's like, "All right, it is what it is."
Yeah, no, definitely not. That Come on, this guy's MVP last year. Whether he has issues, whether he has issues with the Packers, front office organization, um, you know, this is a competitive dude that wants to win. He wants to win another Super Bowl, and I'm sure that as much as he hates the Packers front office and organization, I'm pretty sure that he wants to win a Super Bowl for the fans that love him there. So all this chatter about that, oh, he was doing this on purpose. I think that's ridiculous. So that's they're going to bounce back. They're going to bounce back this week. Watch, it's good. They're playing Detroit. It could get ugly. I think he's going to come out with like a little fire under his ass, ready to go, and he's gonna put it on him.
Well, Detroit was a fun game to watch this week, man. They
That
made it interesting, that's for sure.
that was what I was going to say. There was two games that were, um, I mean, I was surprised that the Steelers beat the Bills, but that 49ers Lions game, I did not expect that kind of scoring output in that game from either team, honestly. I thought the 49ers would win the game handily, and it looked like they were cruising to a big win. Um, but man, the Lions, they showed some fight. I guess Dan Campbell with his like let's bite their kneecaps off attitude. He The message is clear, like we're not going to go down without a fight, and that was a you know all these games are going on during the Eagles game, so I'm not watching them. I'm just watching the highlights at the end of the day. But from what I saw, that was pretty solid performance from Jared Goff. The Lions.
It was rough
Um,
early, and then he came on
yeah,
late.
yeah, he came on as the game went on, but um, they had some guys step up. Uh, look like look like look like I know in our fantasy league that DeAndre Swift was just kind of falling down the draft board, and he ended up with a pretty solid game. They look like they were able to run the ball a little bit. I don't think they're as bad as we people thought they were going to be, but in the end it was still not quite enough. They did get a couple onside kicks, I think, so that kind of helps a lot when you're
That was
got
wild. Yeah.
got a momentum going. I mean, that's like unheard of. But and then the one was like right off of George Kittle's face.
Yeah, it sure
Like
was.
that's yeah, that's just having like all the right bounces go your way. It's also funny that the game ended up 41-33. It kind of brought some joy to my heart thinking of that score.
That's true. That's true. So you gave me almost the perfect segue there a little bit because I wanted to real quick talk about fantasy before we went into our picks. So last week I had some surprises myself. Excuse me, I had to clear my throat there. Um, so I thought it'd be kind of fun just to talk about this really quickly. I know for myself on my own team, I had Zeke, and he only put up 5.9 points, and Najee Harris, who also only put up 5.9 points. But I don't know if more surprisingly for me was the Washington defense that basically only gave me 1 point on the week. The first week with fantasy is always super screwy. It's always kind of hard to know like who to start and who to not because you don't really know what the offenses are going to look like yet or who's going to be a part of things or not. But I mean, Aaron Rodgers put up 1 point in fantasy this week. So, what were for yourself and your team? Did you have any like real big surprises?
Um, I mean, well, the probably the biggest surprise was Derrick Henry's like complete. You know, I mean, he actually had 10 points, which is surprising considering. I think like at halftime, I think he had like 2 or 3 points. I was like, this is looking real bad here, but I mean, yeah, and that kind of put me behind the eight ball. Um, I had Cooper Cup had himself a game. I mean, he had a bunch of catches and a long touchdown. I I kind of I kind of expect him to have a little bit of a big year, but with Stafford there now. But um, yeah, I wouldn't say too many surprises. I I ended up losing the first game. Um, that I would say probably the biggest problem that I ran into is that Justin Herbert, he had a pretty good stat line for the game. He only threw one touchdown pass,
Mm,
whereas I'm going up against Kyler Murray, who he basically he had 33 and change points, and Herbert only had 13 points on the day. So that basically is where I lost the week because the rest of the matchups across the board were um, pretty even for the most part. Some up, some down.
Dude, I
Like
started
you
off the
said,
week with a bang with Antonio Brown, and then the Chiefs game happened, and I was going against Tyreek Hill, and he put up 37 flipping points. And that's
yeah,
if your quarterback doesn't ball the hell out, you're not going to sniff 37 points. So I
no,
was I was looking at an uphill battle, and I still only lost by 8 in the end. But man, I was shocked. I was like, "Holy cow! Would somebody stop that guy?"
yeah, right. Now that I pulled everything up here, another surprise. Now I didn't start this guy, but I picked him like probably somewhere in the middle rounds. That Zach Moss for Buffalo had 0 points. I was
Wow.
expecting him to at least be a little bit of a threat out of the backfield catching the ball, you know. But I mean that was kind of a defensive battle. Um,
That was a pretty high energy game.
yeah,
I'm sure they might have been worried about getting stripped or some fumbles in that particular area because that Browns defense was amped up. That one guy got ejected for stepping on a guy and then shoving that coach. It's it was an emotional game for sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so it's not a great way to start out. I mean, actually all three of us, you Paul and I, we all ended up losing in week 1. Not a not a great look for the three of us the faces of the podcast. But it's week 1. I think we all have pretty good lineups, so, anything can happen. Um, I still feel pretty good about my team. I think they ain't gonna have some of these like low outputs um, every week. I mean, yeah. So I was a little disappointed with some of my top guys. They really didn't do a whole lot. But you know,
Yeah,
on the next week.
it's week
On,
1. I think each week is different, and you'll see how things go as the season progresses. And the only thing I got to say again is, hey man, I won last year. I get to cruise this year. It's up to you guys to win it now.
we gotta take the crown. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
starting out 0-1 ain't always
Yeah,
the
well,
best
hey, it
way.
is what it is. I get to be unassuming. Maybe they'll forget to do their lineup that week or whatever.
Yeah. Right. Like, yeah, leave an injured guy in that's out for a week, but we'll see. Crazier
All
things
right.
have happened.
So we got through our picks on week 1. How did we do in our week 1 NFL picks, Terry?
All right. So for week 1, the leader of the pack and the winner for the picks was you, Brandon. 9 and
Victory!
7. 9 and 7. However, very very close second. Paul and I, we both tied with 8 and 8. You had one game that was the difference. Really, the game that was the difference for all of us was Seattle and Indianapolis. Uh, you and I both had Seattle. Paul had Indy, and then the Jacksonville Houston game. I ended up taking the Jags, and you guys had the Texans. So we were wrong on a lot of the game,
Hey
a
man,
lot of
it's
games that
week
we
one's
thought, but
tough.
yeah, like obviously Buffalo, Washington, Minnesota getting beat by Cincinnati.
That was
That was
surprising.
that was super surprising. Obviously, Tennessee, we talked about New England losing at home. That was a bit of surprise.
Yes, I
Um,
thought New England was going to end up running away with that game because that was our guess who's back game, and
mhm.
it did not turn out as well as I thought it was gonna.
Yeah. So, we pretty even for the week. Obviously, going 50%, you're slightly over that for the week. Yeah, that's not bad for the way that the crazy week 1 can, week 1 always ends up with a lot of surprises, a lot of, kind of shocking outcomes. So,
Yeah, if it was
um,
an even bet, that's not bad. You walked away, didn't lose any money.
yep, exactly. So, yeah, so we go on to week 2. So, I guess we can start getting into the picks here.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm sure it'll go a little faster with just two of us.
yeah, no doubt. So, the Thursday night game this week. This is the Giants at Washington. So, right now, well, first thing I want to throw out there to anybody that's watching that likes to do some football betting. Right now, DraftKings has a odds boost, like a prop bet for Thursday night. It's for Chase Young to have one or more sacks. So as long as he gets to Daniel Jones one time, it's an even money bet. And I feel like that's just free money because from what I saw from the Giants offensive line on this past Sunday against the Broncos, I have a feeling that Daniel Jones is going to be on his ass quite a bit. So right now, Washington is a 3.5 point favorite, which I'm surprised. I know that Fitzpatrick got hurt in week 1, but up until the point when he got hurt, Washington's offense didn't look like it had any kind of rhythm at all. They really weren't doing a whole lot. And then Heineke comes in and they kind of started to get going. By the way, Brandon, did you see that catch that Terry McLaurin made? That
Which one?
sideline job?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Dude, that catch was ridiculous. Like I don't know even how you the concentration to like focus on the ball when the guy's like flying over top of you with like his hands like directly in your face. But um
That he's
yeah,
sick, dude. He's a very good wide receiver.
yeah. So um I mean this is a no-brainer for me. Washington is gonna I feel is gonna win this game. I feel like they're gonna cover the three. They're probably gonna win by at least a touchdown.
I'm gonna
What do
go
you
with I'm gonna go with Washington myself as well. I'm kind of going back and forth on this one because I feel like as the time goes on a little bit, the Giants are gonna find themselves a little bit. But I can't get that image out of my mind of the two Giants offensive linemen that were blocking each other during the game last week. So I think right now I'm going to have to roll with Washington, and we'll see how things go. I think if they know that Taylor's going to be starting, we'll see how things go because they'll have a whole week of preparation on it. I'm also kind of surprised you didn't hear like Cam immediately signing with Washington. But I would keep an eye out for that because if nobody comes a knocking, he might go and see what he can get himself in Washington.
Yeah. Um, I feel like they're gonna give Heineke a chance to show that that he can maybe take over the job and keep them in the hunt, you know, until I mean it sounds like Fitzpatrick could be out a while. And some people are even saying, I mean, this they said this is a similar injury to what Tua had with that hip injury. So they're saying like a minimum of 8 weeks, and they said it could be a season ender. So if it's a season ender, then I wouldn't be surprised if Cam comes on. Um, but yeah, that Giants thing was hilarious. Like they're literally like they're blocking each other, and the defensive end is just running completely free around the edge. It's like what the hell are you doing? Like they've been spending so much time trying to fix their line, and it's still atrocious.
It's been
And
years.
let's be honest, Daniel Jones isn't. They're going to be looking for a quarterback after this year too. So he turns the ball over way too much, and he had another fumble, another lost fumble, and I think he threw a pick. So they got they got big problems there in New York, and it's sad because their defense is pretty solid, but you know,
Other than the occasional dash up the middle because people forget that he's even alive, I don't think he's really good for much. But yeah,
yeah, he's good for turnovers, so that's about it. All right, so we'll starting off this so the early slate of games. First one I have up here is Eagles. So we got the 49ers at the Eagles. Right now, the Eagles are a 3.5 point home dog. So San Francisco, they, they obviously look pretty good on offense. We know their defense is pretty good. They did lose their starting corner, Verrett, who's probably their best corner um, for the season, ACL tear. They
oh, it's that
also,
extreme. I didn't see it was
yeah,
that extreme.
yeah,
Damn.
he's done for the season. And then they also lost Mostert for the season as well. So Mostert's done. Now the guy that came in and took over for him, Eli Mitchell, he had himself a game. He went over 100 yards. So obviously their run game, we know how San Fran does with their running game. They pretty much interchangeable. A lot of those guys. Plus they're going to get Trey Sermon back this week, so it's going to be a little tougher. But for me, I remember that you and Paul were busting my chops back
Uh
when the
oh.
schedule came out. That the I said that the Eagles are going to win this game against San Fran
Mm-hmm.
in their opener. So I'm not going away from that. I'm taking the Eagles,
I'm glad I'm consistent. Go ahead.
and I am I'm taking the Eagles. Um, you know, and I just think they're going to win. I really do. I think the Link's going to be rocking. We have another one of the Paul. You know, he was saying that the odds are never in favor of a team coming across the all the way across the country to play a 1 o'clock game. Plus, they just had that. Close one yet last week against Detroit. The Eagles are flying pretty high after that first opening game. I feel like the momentum continues. I feel like the Eagles win this one outright. What do you think, Brandon?
If the Eagles win this game, I feel like then the doubters will finally be quiet. I don't feel like they're going to be quiet until that happens, but I'm going to pick the Niners. It hurts, but
Ooh.
I feel like the Niners are likely going to pull this one out. Um, I just I haven't seen enough from the Birds yet. I feel like the Falcons are in the probably the bottom half of the league, if not further down. So this is definitely a much more stout competitor. So I feel like this is probably going to be one that's going to be a scrappy match. I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of points on the board at the end of the game. Um, I would still think that the Niners are probably going to pull away with it, but I wouldn't be surprised and wouldn't be I would be overjoyed if the Eagles did win, but I'm still going to pick the Niners.
All right. It hurts me that you're picking the 49ers, but I can understand where you're coming from with that one. But yeah, I also just before I move on to the next one, real quick, I think it's going to be I'm spotlighting the matchup Jordan Malata against Nick Bosa.
Ooh.
It's going to be I think that's going to be a great battle. And I'm just I can't wait to see. I honestly can't wait to see how Malata does because we know Nick Bosa is a stud,
Mhm.
and if he can shut him down, ooh, he could. I mean, that could just skyrocket him, for where he's potentially going to go. Start shutting a guy like that down. So next game, I mean, honestly, I don't think we even need to really waste any time on this one. We have the Texans at the Browns. Right now, the Browns are a 12 and a half point favorite.
Wow.
That's
Wow.
an enormous line for this
Man,
game.
no respect for Tyrod. Ah,
Uh, I I could see that one. I could see this one getting out of hand. I mean, you know, obviously Cleveland let that one go last week, but they still they still they still have a solid offense and defense, and they're going to be way too much for Houston. I don't even know if Houston gets to 10 points. So I'm going obviously Cleveland.
I'm going Cleveland, but I would be surprised to see the Texans actually show up for the game. I was really relatively surprised. I mean, I know that the Jags have had a lot of issues reportedly in the offseason, and Urban's kind of pissed everybody off from all reports. But I mean, if they're not, they're still a roster of NFL players, and then that was a up until the end there, that was a pretty crap game, and I don't think anybody saw the Texans coming out and doing what they did in that game. So I would say I wouldn't be surprised to see the Texans show up and do something, but I still don't see him winning that game.
Yeah, no, we'll see. I mean, like
The
we
the
said,
running
it's
attack
it's
for the
still.
Browns has been really nice. Sorry.
Oh, dude, yeah, they're just gonna. I feel like that's. I mean, they're just gonna run it down their throat, and then they're gonna hit them with the big pass play down the field that's gonna be wide open because they're just gonna be leaning to stop the run eventually, and
The
um
only thing that, and this would make Paul laugh, and he's not here, so I have to say it, is if OBJ returns to the lineup and it throws their whole offense off, and then they end up not doing well. Man, I know Paul would be so giddy about that.
well, I'll tell you what, their offense is probably still going to be on clicking on all cylinders this week because they said that he's not playing this week. He's out.
Oh, okay. I wonder why. Did they say why?
They said it's from. I just read the headline, but it said he's. They said nothing to worry about, just not ready yet.
Just
Like
not ready yet.
no
All right.
no setbacks. Just not. I guess they. I feel like it's kind of like with the Eagles with McLeod. Maybe they're just trying not to rush him out there too soon, and maybe he could have something happen to it. Um, but obviously,
You know what?
once he hits the field, oh, I don't know if Baker's going to be able to handle that.
It does kind of make sense though, because think about it from the owner's perspective. Would you trust him to know that to let up if he needed to? Because I wouldn't.
Right. Well,
So
and I mean also you're playing against one of the potentially worst teams in the league. You're going to win this game handily. You could play this the Cleveland could play this game without throwing a pass, and I'm pretty sure they would win this game.
yeah, but then they might fall into Shanahan syndrome and then drop back 51 times with a guy like Nick Mullins.
You got to balance it out next week.
Yeah, right.
But all right, next one we got Rams at Indy. Interesting game here.
Rams.
Uh yeah, yeah, Rams. I'm not I'm with you on that. I mean, they looked amazing. I mean, the Bears defense is pretty solid. Let's be honest. We know the Bears offense isn't, great. But the Bears defense is pretty good, and I mean, they looked awesome on offense. The Rams are just moving the ball downfield. Stafford looked amazing. He's going to make that passing game really go. And then obviously the Rams defense is uh, they've got studs all over the place. So um, Carson's going to have, but don't hurt Carson. Don't hurt him. Don't hurt him. Don't hurt Mr. Glass. Let him play every play. I want 100% of the snaps on the field, buddy. Don't get COVID before the game. Get your ass out there, get beat, and let's move on to next week.
He didn't look awful in the first week. I just don't think that they had enough to kind of put things together in that game. And I mean, Tyler Lockett was just absolutely fantastic in
He had
that
a great
game.
week.
So I don't think I put the sole blame on him. But man, before the season even started, there were indie beat writers like, I'll pack this dude's bags if you trade him. I can't
Yeah.
imagine it's going to get any better unless he gets some W's.
Yeah. I mean, listen, the guy had some great moments for us. I don't hate him completely, but I am glad he's gone. I'm glad he's not our quarterback anymore. Because what I've been hearing, I actually listened to an interview with Chris Long, and he was
I
saying
like him. He's cool.
yeah, dude, he seems like a really really cool dude, and he was talking about the difference, and he seemed like he was being really really open and honest about the whole thing. He said like the reason that everyone liked Foles so much is because he said he was just a different dude. He said he would go out of his way to like, you know, go out and talk to people and like, get to know people and things like that. And he said Carson just wasn't that guy. He said he just wasn't ingrained in the fabric of that team the way that like the out from the outside world you're thinking, oh, this guy's killing it on the field. He's got to be a huge piece of this fabric of the locker room. And he was saying that it really wasn't that way. He said he wasn't really like one of the boys, like one of the guys. He said he was
Mm,
just kind of a guy that was there. He said not a bad guy, but just not a guy that like, you know, dudes are ready to like run through the brick wall for.
sure.
So, um, yeah, it's going to be interesting to how that goes in Indy because if you know the Rams come out and they put one on them, and things start going off the rails, like obviously he has another. He didn't have, like you said, he didn't have a bad game. I think he did have a lost fumble. I don't think he threw any picks, but not a great game by any means, but not a bad one. But if that one, if the Rams go in there and beat them handily and their defense just goes to town, I think that thing could get off the tracks. Like that whole offense could go off the rails real quick, and you could see Indy just kind of nosedive. That's my thoughts on it, but
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it'll be a semi close game. I think Indy will stay in it as long as Carson doesn't get hurt. I think they're going to be able to probably get a little bit of their run game going a bit. I just, I think it's funny to see Carson go and then all these weapons kind of blossom for the Eagles. And now he's over there in the area where he was perceived to have a lot more weapons. And it just hasn't been, I mean, through one game, obviously, it didn't really come together in that first game. So I'll be
yeah,
interested. I mean, I don't know about you, but as an Eagles fan, me sitting there watching that game, and when Devonta caught that catch, I was just like, God damn, I bet you Carson would have loved having him.
yeah. I mean, it did. it looked pretty bleak last year, but it looks like a lot of these guys, the Eagles have found some, you know, diamond in the rough type of players. Like they've got speed. Um, it looks like Rager is making strides in the second year. Obviously, we're only one game in, but he looked better. Quez Watkins has been a surprise. So yeah, I mean, we'll see. Because I mean, Indianapolis doesn't have great weapons on the outside. I mean, T.Y. Hilton's old. He's one route away from blowing another hamstring if he goes deep. I think Pittman looks pretty good. I think he could be a player. Um, they've got a good run game, but I don't feel like they've got any game breakers on the outside.
Yeah. No, I
So
agree with you. I think they count a lot on their defense, and the defense just didn't really get to it this last time.
right. All right, so we both are on the Rams on that one. All right, next game we've got Buffalo at Miami. Uh, Miami's a three and a half point home dog. Oh, by the way, that last game was 3.5. The Colts are a 3.5 point home dog as well.
Wow,
For anybody,
interesting.
yeah. Miami's the same way, 3.5 point home dog. Um, I know Miami came out and won their opener on the road against New England, and Buffalo, you know, lost at home against the Steelers. I feel like Buffalo bounces back in a big way this week. I'm going with Buffalo.
Yeah, I'm down with Buffalo on this one as well. I that was a tough situation. That whole game was definitely a dogfight all the way through. So I feel like this week they'll be able to get things together a little bit more and be able to put things together. So I'm going to go with the Bills in this one.
Dude, they won't have to deal with TJ Watt. That guy's an absolute monster, dude.
Yeah,
He was just
absolutely.
he's a game wrecker. Like he's I feel like he's got Aaron Donald game wrecking upside. Like, and I think he's getting like, I mean, he showed it in the first game, but if he sustains it through this season, I mean, he could have been the defensive player of the year last year. I mean, he was really good.
Yeah.
But now, I mean, he finally he got paid right before the game. I think I told Paul last week. I said maybe they're gonna get him paid before the first game and let him unleash him out there. And hell, if he didn't, man, he went out there and absolutely killed the game plan that Buffalo had. So, um, but yeah, I mean, I think that Josh Allen's going to have a much easier sailing this week, and I think they probably cruise to a win this time around.
As long as he doesn't do some, harebrained thing, I think they'll be fine.
Absolutely. Next one we got Patriots at the Jets. Does it even matter? Jets are obviously home dogs. 6 point. New England's a 6 point favorite.
That's it.
Um, that's it. That's it. Maybe that's the Mac Jones rookie quarterback factor. They're letting it go a little bit lower, but yeah, New England's gonna roll in this one. I think they cover this number two pretty easily.
I agree. I definitely think that last week was a surprise for them. I really thought that was going to be their coming out party. Maybe this will be. We'll see. But I'm not going to keep betting against them. That offense is going to get stacked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Mac Jones looked good. Like he didn't look bad. Like there was
No.
nothing there. It's just like just a couple of things didn't go their way, and yeah, I mean that was kind of a low scoring, like more of a defensive type of game anyway. So I mean they only Dolphins only ended up getting that game by 1 point. So I think New England gets it on track this week. I think they put a pretty good number out there on the Jets. Um, yeah, so I think they run away with that one. Next one, Denver at Jacksonville. Do we even have to do this one either?
Yeah,
uh,
Denver. Definitely Denver.
yeah, Denver all the way for both of us here. Um, yeah, that's another low line though. Denver's only a 6 point favorite,
I
and
mean,
I,
that's
I
they didn't look super explosive on offense. Jerry Judy went down, got taken out.
that's
I don't
true.
know if he'll be back.
They said it's a bad high ankle sprain, so he's probably going to miss. I'd say probably at least a month, probably more. Some of those high ankle sprains can go on all season, but yeah, I mean, I think that Denver he's wins this one pretty handily. So next one, Raiders at the Steelers.
And the Raiders do it again.
Not this time, my friend. Not this time. Not with that monster on the other side of the. I mean, that. Oh God. I mean, the Ravens defense kind of they kind of faltered a little bit, but I mean they were getting a lot of pressure on Carr early in the game. They kind of fell apart late, but I think Pittsburgh's defense is just going to be way too much for them. Even with Darren Waller, obviously he's ridiculously good. Josh Jacobs, I think, was a little banged up too in that first one. I think they said he had a toe injury, but
Yeah, he got. I think he had a touchdown, but he didn't get very many yards.
yeah, I mean, and he seems like he always plays through injuries, so he'll play, but I think Pittsburgh's just going to have too much for them, and I think offensively, I could see Najee Harris get rolling this week.
I hope so.
Against the well, you have him in. I think you have him in our league. I have him in another league, and I was pretty disappointed with week one. But I don't think that's going to be the case each week. So, but I mean, it's a Pittsburgh's a 5.5 point favorite. I kind of like that line. I could see that line maybe increasing a little bit. I mean, but I like Pittsburgh this week. I've got them to win.
Yeah, man, I was really kind of surprised because I really didn't think that they were going to end up coming back in that game, and they really did end up, kind of living through their defense. And I feel like that's going to be another game that's going to be pretty similar to that. So, as long as things don't fall apart for Big Ben, then I feel like that's definitely a good way to lean. So I'll stick with the Steelers in this one.
All right, cool. Next one up, the surprise Cincinnati Bengals at the Bears. Bears are 2 point favorites at home. From
it's basically a pick on then.
but the whispers are out there saying that this could be Justin Fields. This could be that they might start him. So that could certainly change things. Obviously, the Bears' defense is pretty solid, but Joe Burrow did look pretty good against the Vikings last week, and we all thought that he was we all thought that he was going to be on his back most of the game, and he ended up slinging it. Jamar Chase, he
had
figured
over
out
100
that.
yards.
Yeah, and I don't know if they took chalk and put the lines on the ball for him to make him, get his headset set on right. But yeah, he had a pretty good game. He had a pretty good opening game too. So I think this one. I mean, this one, like you said, it is a pick 'em. I mean, it's a coin flip. I'm so I'm gonna take the Bears. My caveat is that I'm going on that based on the feeling that I'm pretty sure that Justin Fields is going to start. If he doesn't, I could see Cincinnati winning the game, but I'll stick with my Bears pick for that reason.
Just to keep it interesting, I'll go Cincinnati in this one. I think that they showed up a lot more last week than I was expecting, and I think even if Fields starts, you could see Fields on his backside a little more than you anticipate. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him make a few harebrained things himself because, let's face it, he's not the most accurate quarterback in the world. So I know a lot of people are super high on him. He looked pretty good. He looked better than Andy Dalton in the plays that he had in week one for sure. But I still think that he's not going to be the savior of the Bears as much as they want him to be.
I don't know. I kind of disagree with you. I feel like he was on. They kept putting the camera on him so much on Sunday night.
They definitely did.
There was one point when it was like a big spotlight of his face right in between Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth, and I'm like this guy he he looked pissed off. Like he looked like I want to be out there. Like he looked like a cage tiger was ready to go. Like he wanted to get out there and just roll. I feel like if he gets the opportunity to go out there, I think he's going to ball out. So that's why
I always want to
like
see
the
guys
Bears.
do well. I definitely do. But when I watched his film, to me, I mean, I could be totally wrong. I mean, I don't see him being. I don't think he's as good as Lamar. When Lamar was coming out of college, I don't think he
Oh,
is even close to what Lamar was coming out of college.
I think he might be a little bit better of a passer than Lamar, but he's definitely not. He's not as he doesn't have that. I mean, he's got explosiveness and speed, but Lamar's on a different level when it comes to the speed. I mean,
Yeah.
he showed it on Monday night. That guy's like joystick Jesus, dude.
Yeah.
In the in the pocket, just some of those moves and then breaking out of there, and like he like just he's just out of there so quick. Like and his acceleration's like off the charts. But yeah, Fields is not like that with him, but he's definitely got some of those attributes, just not quite as fast. So I could see him getting if he gets the start. I could see him coming out. Plus, it's at home. You know, I think there's going to be a lot riding on that. Plus, everybody's been doubting him. So and they started Andy Dalton over him to start the season.
Well, they
Like he
told
wants.
him. They told Andy that they were going to start him, and that's the only reason why he came there. It'd be pretty crap to not let him at least start one game.
I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting. I hope he starts. I have him on my bench in fantasy, so I'm just like I'm just waiting to see like maybe this guy kind of has a few games that might make it interesting, but I don't think he'll
I
ever
think
make
he'll
it
have
past.
good games. I just don't think he's definitely. I don't. To me, that's not a Super Bowl winning quarterback.
Not yet. I mean, we got to obviously a guy's got to have some time to get some experience under his belt, but he's a high pick. That you know
Yeah,
we'll
so's
see.
Zach Wilson, and I don't see that going anywhere either.
Eh,
I think through the first little bit here, at least that one, I think we've done pretty well on as far as all of our predictions and everything up to this point. We'll have to see what happens there.
Yeah, well, the Jets are like a black hole for quarterbacks, so
Not as
they
much as the
wouldn't
Browns,
be
but hey, they
surprised.
found Baker.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So next in line, Minnesota at Arizona. Arizona 3.5 point favorite. I think that line's a little low. Um, after what I saw from Arizona, and then on the flip side, how poor you know like Minnesota played against a bad, pretty much a bad team in Cincinnati. I'm going Arizona. I think it's going to be an exciting game. I think it's going to be a super high scoring game. I don't know what the over under is, but I'm probably gonna parlay a little Arizona and the over. But yeah, I'm going with the Cardinals in this one.
It's not a bad bet, but yeah, I'll go with Cardinals as well.
All right, moving on. Uh, the Saints at the Panthers. Saints are th- 4 point 4 point road favorite. Um, this one, I mean, like I said earlier, I don't think New Orleans is as good as what they looked last week. I think just the Packers had an awful game and it got out of hand. Um, and you know, Carolina showed some nice things, but they also struggled a bit with the Jets. Looked like there was some rustiness there. I think they also did have. I think Darnold did have a like a fumbled handoff in inside the 10 where they would have probably scored another touchdown or at least got another field goal. So it could have been a little bit more, but I'm still going with New Orleans in this. I still think they have. I think their defense is still pretty strong. They should be able to keep them in the game, and then I think that Carolina. I don't know. This one's tough because I'm like I'm not sure. I'm not sure on this one. I really think maybe I might have to just change my pick on the fly here. Yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm going with Carolina.
All right. Well, it's easy for me. I'm sticking with New Orleans.
All right. I
I
don't know. It's something like I don't know. I just have a feeling that Carolina's going to win this game. I want to pick New Orleans too, but I don't know. I feel like it's going to be. I don't know. I'll probably be wrong, but
I think
I'm
it
going to
could
go with
be
it.
a close game for sure. I don't see it. I don't see anything changing too much from last week for the Saints because I think the big thing that I learned last week is that yeah, Drew Brees is gone, but the Saints defense is still there. So I think for
True.
that, I'll still live with the Saints on this one.
All right. I'm gonna stick with my Carolina pick. I'm just going on gut instinct on this one. I do think New Orleans is probably gonna win, but I don't know. I have some kind of I've like a feeling that Carolina might pull an upset here, but we'll see. Uh, next game, Atlanta at Tampa Bay.
Mm,
Obviously, Tampa going with Tampa there. Tampa's a 12-point favorite. Oh, they could cover
wow.
that. They could cover that and then some.
They might be able to, yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying, man. I don't think Atlanta is a very good team this year. I'm seeing them in the bottom third of the league, so I'm definitely going to be taking Tampa in this one.
All right. And next one, Dallas at the Chargers. Uh, Chargers are a 3.5 point favorite at home. Um, so this one was a tough one until a little bit earlier with the news that so earlier they announced that Demarcus Lawrence broke his foot and he's going to be out for at least a few weeks.
I thought I heard
Uh,
6 to 8.
I didn't I just heard a few. I didn't know the yeah, but 6 to 8. That would be a crusher for their defense. He's clearly their best player. Um, Plus they also Lyle Collins is out for 5 games, and Michael Gallup is also. They said he's going to be out for probably about a month.
Oh wow.
And in addition to Randy Gregory, who may or may not play because he's on the COVID list. They do get Zach Martin back. So um, I was surprised that the Chargers won last week, going to Washington and winning. Um, uh, Herbert was insane on third down. He was like 14 for 17.
And then
Like,
the Washington's not a slouch defense either.
and that's a top three defense, probably. You know, I mean, they could be in the conversation for the top defense in the league with all the talent that they have there. So that's like to me, that's just an insane stat. Um, with the losses that the Cowboys have, I have to go with the Chargers. I just feel like there's too many pieces that are not there that is gonna cause it's gonna flip the scales in the Chargers' favor.
I feel like unless Zeke runs for probably a buck or more, then they're going to lose that game. So I'm going to go with the Chargers. But with Martin being back, I feel like there's definitely going to be more of a run game instituted for Dallas than what you had last week. But I still don't see them necessarily pulling them out. But man, it's tough to. My first instinct was to pick Dallas on this. It really was. But I just feel like with the injuries that they have going on, that it's going to be a lot for them to overcome this week.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, prior to hearing about all these injuries earlier, when I originally had my pick set, I had Dallas as my pick. Um, I just think that's just too many guys. That's too many pieces that are missing. And then the Chargers, um, they look pretty good against a really good defense. So
Yeah.
I think that they're going to be they're a little bit of an underrated team. I think they're going to be a lot better. Like I think they're going to be pretty good this year.
I think
I don't.
Herbert's shown that he's gonna be there. So I expected there a possibility of a slump this year, but it looks like at least early off he's doing pretty good.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Next up, Tennessee travels to Seattle. Seattle's a 5-point favorite at home. Um,
Yeah, this
I
is
li-
tough.
I like Tennessee. I like Tennessee's team, but after what I saw last week, I feel like I feel like Russ could. I mean, Russ could just go crazy on their defense with Lockett and DK. He's got a legit tight end in Everett who came over from the Rams. Uh, you know, Chris Carson obviously is always steady in the run game,
As long as
and
he's
it's
healthy, he's good.
yeah. And then their defense, their defense was getting a lot of pressure on Wentz last week. I mean, they were getting either pressure on him or getting to him. So, Seattle's defense was a problem last year as far as they were getting, you know, they had no real pass rush. The back end of their defense was terrible. I mean, them and the Cowboys were, I think neck and neck for like worst overall yards against defense ever for a while for a couple of stretches there. But I think with the addition of Adams and everything, I think they've kind of settled things down a little bit after watching what Kyler did to Tennessee, and the fact that Seattle is really tough at home. I'm taking the Seahawks.
I'm taking Seahawks because of the same thing I said last week. Early in the season, Seahawks are crazy hot. They will cool off in the second half because they always do. But early in the year, the Seahawks are always red hot. I'm going Seahawks.
All right, cool. All right, next one is the Sunday night game. So we have Kansas City at Baltimore. Kansas City's a 3-point favorite.
Can you
Three
really
point
pick
road
against
favorite.
Kansas City after this
Uh,
last game?
no, I'm. It's going to be hard to not pick them all season. To be honest with you, I don't know. After watching that game, and
That to
it's
me is the most impressive thing about the Chiefs is their ability to come back from double point deficits so often.
and they
It's
made
like
it look
it's
so
nothing.
easy,
Yeah, and they've done
dude.
it so many times where you're like, "Yep, okay, this game's over." And then you're like, "No, never mind, they came back."
Mahomes is on another level, dude. And Tyreek Hill, that he's just so dynamic, so explosive. And then you got Travis Kelsey too. Like they're just too much. They're just too much. Plus, I think their defense was still missing a few pieces last week. I think if I heard right, they're getting. I think Tyra Matthew was out in the first game.
Okay.
I don't know if they're going to get
I
him
don't
back.
remember hearing his name called.
Yeah, I think I saw because, like I said, I was that was actually in the later game, but was bouncing around. We didn't have that. Was kind of bouncing around with the games, but um, I don't think he played. But we'll see if he plays. If he plays this week, that's only gonna that's only gonna increase their chances anyway. But I'm not betting against them. And Baltimore, they lost so many guys to knee injuries. I just think it's a numbers game. It's eventually going to catch up with them. I think Baltimore ends up starting the season 0-2, and I got KC, and I'm pretty sure you do too.
Yep. Yeah, after the game last week, I'm definitely not picking against the Chiefs.
Last game of the week, Monday nighter, uh, the Detroit Lions at the Green Bay Packers.
Wow. Hmm. Wow.
Packers, after getting absolutely throttled in the opening week, are an 11 and a half point favorite.
I'll take the Packers, but I'm interested because last week I said to Paul, the Packers have this uncanny ability to just blow big games, and I don't necessarily always understand why in certain instances. And I feel like last week is kind of like that similar instance to where like for seemingly no reason they come out and lay an egg. Seemingly no reason enough that people even think they're doing it on purpose. And so it's to me just it's going to be interesting to see, but there's no way I can pick against the Packers on this one. So I'm going to have to roll with the pack.
Same here. You know, I just feel like Rodgers is going to bounce back with a vengeance this week. I think it's going to be. I think they're gonna get it together. Um, Offensively, I think they're gonna put up a lot of points, and I think you know defensively they're gonna fix a lot of the problems. So I mean, I'm not I'm not gonna say I don't think Detroit's probably gonna hang around for a little bit, but I think I think the Packers will eventually you know I'd say maybe 10 points. I
I
think they
wouldn't be
win by
surprised to see
10.
the Lions kind of do what they did last week almost every week, where they kind of get blown out early and then out of nowhere they kind of stick into the game somewhere and kind of put some points up late. I wouldn't be
Yeah,
surprised to kind of see most of their games kind of go that way.
yeah, catch a team sleeping after they put it in cruise control kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, yeah, I mean, I could see that, especially with like we had said earlier about the Dan Campbell thing. With him being that kind of rah rah, never say die.
It'll take a while before that wears off. I mean,
Yeah,
eventually guys won't buy into that anymore, and then it just not going to do anything. But I mean, in the first couple weeks of here, I think that it'll stick around for sure. So at least I would say for the first half of the year, unless they really start getting shellacked, I wouldn't be surprised to see almost every week them being competitive in some respect, not winning games, but competitive.
right. Yeah, yeah, I agree with you there. So, all right. Well, I mean, we've got a there's three games that are going to turn that are going to turn on how this week goes because we're pretty much the same for most of the way. Uh, so the Eagles and the Niners, Chicago and Cincinnati, and then Carolina and New Orleans. I know I'm making a huge mistake taking that pick. Like thinking
That's going to
about
be
it
my
now, like,
makeup for the Cincinnati game. That's
oh
going to
my
be my
god,
makeup game.
oh my god. But I'll anyone out there, I'm not betting. I'm not betting on Carolina. I'm just taking them for the sake of these picks here.
Do you want to recap your
But yeah.
actual your actual bet recommendations, and then we'll wrap up?
Well, all right. So I mean, uh, I think I think there's there should be quite a bit of action on Washington. Them being only a 3.5 point favorite, dude. The Giants looked terrible. I I would take I would take Washington this week. Um, I would take them. I would take them. Minus the 3.5. Um, let's see who else.
That Chase Young one sounded good.
Yeah, that so the Chase Young DraftKings prop bet. Props to my boy Dave Aaron, by the way, for texting me that earlier, because I feel like I feel like that is a lock. I mean, Chase Young to just get one sack for even money. Um, I think that's a great bet. Um, I've already put quite not a ton of money. I don't have like an unlimited bankroll, but I put a pretty nice bet on that one. Um, let's see what were the other ones. I didn't actually write these down yet, so
Oh, all
I'm
good,
just kind
bud.
of
That's
doing them on
fine.
the fly. But
So
I
we
like
can.
I'll say I like Denver. I like Denver minus the 6
Mhm.
against Jacksonville. I like New England minus the 6 against the Jets. I mean, if I'm just going straight spreads here, that's the
Sure.
way I'll go with that. Um, I like Arizona minus the 3.5 against Minnesota. And I probably won't put it in my main bet, but if I'm gonna do like a long shot parlay, I would also throw in Cleveland and Tampa Bay to cover that 12. Um, because I think both of those games are going to get out of hand. So um, those would be probably my picks. And for myself personally, you know, anybody can say what they will. Um, I think the Eagles getting 3.5 points is pretty good at home. So
I hope you're right, man. I
I'm
want the
putting
birds
that
to
in. I'm
win.
putting that in my my mix. It's a tough bet, but I like what I saw, and I feel like the Eagles are going to play pretty tough at home. They're going to be The crowd's going to be electric there. Um, First time the link's been going to be fully packed in 2 years. Um, yeah, I like their chances.
Awesome. Well, make sure you guys hit like, make sure you subscribe, leave a comment down below to let us know your thoughts on it. Again, Paul, we hope you feel better and have you back here next week. And we hope you guys did enjoy another episode here of the Muff Punt Podcast. Man, winning week one is great, but it's a little nerve wracking. We're going to have to see how the picks go in week two. I might come back eating my words here. So I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your night. Terry, thanks for coming by as always, and I hope everybody takes it easy.